Are you ready for a change that shakes your very foundations? What you are about to discover is not just a simple trick to improve your life, but a series of lessons so powerful that, if you decide to apply them, you will never be the same again. Lesson number 12 will leave you speechless. Let's be honest, we are all a bit tired of empty advice, forgotten as quickly as it's heard. Here I'm talking about the ancient wisdom of Stoic philosophy, which has stood the test of time for one reason: it works. This video is not for just anyone, it's for you, who seek something more than a superficial life. It's for those willing to look inward, reflect, and change. So stick around, because what follows might be the most important thing you will see in a long time. But before we begin, if you find value in these videos, please subscribe and click the notification bell to stay updated. Don't miss a lesson, as one of them could be the key to illuminating the dark pit in which you find yourself. Let's begin. First, accept negative thoughts and emotions. Have you ever felt like your negative thoughts and emotions are unwelcome guests that never leave? We all have days when our minds feel like a horror movie, filled with unpleasant scenes and characters that don't inspire optimism. The curious thing is, instead of trying to get rid of them, we should learn to live with them. Yes, you heard right. Accepting these thoughts and emotions could be the key to finding lasting inner peace. Isn't that fascinating? Let's break it down a little. Imagine your negative thoughts are like noisy children at a party. No matter how much you try to speak louder or ignore them, they're still there, screaming and demanding attention. Stoic philosophy teaches us that acceptance is the way for these children to tire themselves out from their own noise. The real magic isn't in making them disappear, but in learning to live with them without letting them ruin the party. Now, acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to living with an annoying group of thoughts. It's about understanding that these thoughts and emotions are part of you, like those coffee stains on a white shirt you tried to clean but could never fully remove. The key lies in how you pay attention to them. Instead of fighting against them, why not let them have their space without taking control of the situation? A helpful trick is to visualize your negative thoughts as a train at a station. You can observe it, but you don't have to board or let it take you where you don't want to go. This approach allows you to maintain a healthy emotional distance. The next time you find yourself caught in a whirlwind of dark thoughts, remember they do not define you. You are the observer, not the passenger. But how can you reach this acceptance without it feeling like a painful process? First, it's essential to recognize that negative thoughts and emotions don't have the power to hurt you on their own. What truly hurts is clinging to them with all your might. By accepting that they are there, you strip them of their power to control you. It's like releasing a balloon into the sky. At first, it might feel like you're losing something, but in reality, you're freeing yourself from the weight. A practical exercise to start accepting these thoughts is meditation. No, I'm not asking you to become a Buddhist monk, but dedicating a few minutes a day to observe your thoughts without judging them can be liberating. Imagine your thoughts as leaves floating down a river. Just watch them pass by without trying to stop them. Over time, you'll notice that these negative leaves have less impact on your overall well-being. Accepting your negative thoughts and emotions is like learning to dance in the rain instead of waiting for the storm to pass. Inner peace isn't about eliminating the mess, but about finding harmony within it. So the next time you feel like these bothersome thoughts are controlling you, remember that you have the power to decide how to react to them. As a wise Stoic proverb says, peace is not found in the absence of storms, but in the ability to dance in the midst of them. Now, second, set aside time for reflection. Ever wonder why, amid the chaos of everyday life, you end up feeling like a sponge full of stress and negativity? Let me tell you plainly, life is a whirlwind of chaos, and if you don't stop every now and then, you'll end up soaked to the bone with everything bad around you. The answer to this dilemma isn't as simple as following the latest viral trend on social media or listening to your favorite influencer's advice. In fact, what you really need is a bit of reflection, as if your mind were an old book that deserves to be leafed through with care. Imagine your mind as a control room full of monitors bombarding you with negative news and opinions. Every time you turn one of these monitors on, the level of chaos in your life increases. Sure, you can't turn off the whole world, nor should you try, but you can choose which screens to keep active and which to shut down. Stoic philosophy suggests that inner peace isn't about ignoring the storm, but about learning to navigate through it without losing your way. Setting aside time for reflection is like building a shelter in the midst of that storm. It doesn't mean you're going to live in a bubble of happiness where everything is perfect. Rather, you will find a mental space where you can evaluate your thoughts and emotions without being swept away by the tide. If you spend a few minutes of your day with yourself, away from the noise of social media and toxic conversations, you will start to notice a change. It's like dusting off an old compass. Suddenly, you begin to see things more clearly. Try this. Turn off the television of negativity and sit in silence for a few minutes. Observe your thoughts as if they were clouds passing through the sky. Don't fight against them, nor cling to any particular one. Just let them pass. Over time, as you become accustomed to this exercise, you will notice that your mind becomes less chaotic and more controlled. This process helps you make peace with yourself, allowing you to live in peace regardless of the circumstances. Of course, this isn't an instantaneous process. Inner peace doesn't arise overnight, just as a house isn't built in a few hours. It requires patience and practice, but over time, you will learn to feel comfortable in your own mental space and to make decisions based on calm rather than chaos. If you ever feel trapped by external criticism or negativity, remember, true power lies in your ability to maintain internal balance. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to set aside time for reflection, not allow your mind to absorb external negativity, and learn to make peace with yourself. Even if the world around you seems chaotic, your ability to find inner tranquility will enable you to navigate life with more serenity. It's not about escaping reality, but being the captain of your own ship amid the waves. As Confucius said, inner peace is not found in the absence of chaos, but in the ability to find calm amidst it. 3. Show gratitude. Have you ever had those days when everything seems to go wrong and you wonder why you got out of bed? Rain, traffic, cold coffee. It feels like the entire universe is against you. But instead of drowning in complaints and self-pity, how about stopping for a moment and taking inventory of what you really have? It may seem like an overly optimistic idea, but here's a secret: gratitude is more powerful than it appears. Stoic philosophy, this ancient wisdom that taught Romans to keep calm while the empire crumbled, offers us an interesting lesson. The Stoics didn't just skim the surface of problems. They dug deep to find something good in every situation. Imagine yourself in the middle of a storm. Instead of focusing on the rain soaking you, why not appreciate the fact that you have shelter? The idea is simple. By showing gratitude, you shift your focus from what you lack to valuing what you already have. It's like life giving you a toolbox, and instead of complaining about not having a hammer, you realize you already have screwdrivers, pliers, and much more. Gratitude may seem like a passing trend, but in reality, it's a mindset shift. Making a conscious effort to find something to be grateful for every day may seem trivial, but it's more effective than you might imagine. It's like having an invisible superpower that allows you to face life's ups and downs with a smile. The next time you're caught in a cycle of negative thoughts, try this. Instead of lamenting the loss of your morning coffee, be thankful for having drinking water and a kitchen to prepare it. It may seem simple, but this shift in perspective can transform your day. I'm not suggesting you become a master of gratitude overnight. The practice of gratitude is like a plant. It needs time, care, and patience. Start by writing down 3 things you're grateful for before you go to bed. They don't need to be grand events. Simplicity is your ally here. Maybe you're grateful for a friend's smile, a delicious meal, or an inspiring book. Over time, your ability to find joy in the little things will grow. Gratitude isn't a placebo or a way to ignore real problems, but a powerful tool for maintaining serenity in any situation. By focusing on the positive, even amid chaos, you give yourself the chance to live with less stress and more happiness. After all, if you can find something to be grateful for, there will always be a reason to smile. Gratitude doesn't eliminate problems, but it transforms how we experience each moment. 4. Maintain a good lifestyle. You know that idea of having everything under control while also being completely relaxed? That's a common illusion, almost like trying to hold water in your hands. But what if I told you there's a way to approach this inner peace without having to become a hermit or a yoga guru? Let's talk about how to lead a good lifestyle. And surprise, it's not a magic formula, but rather a series of simple steps that we often forget. First, let's talk about nutrition. Sure, an apple a day won't make you immortal, but it's a good start. Imagine your body as a machine. If you put quality fuel in it, it runs better. And no, I'm not talking about that triple espresso that keeps you awake until 3 in the morning, but real food, fruits, vegetables, proteins, and water. It's like building a house. If you use quality materials, it lasts much longer. It's not about completely eliminating chocolate or fries, but finding balance and giving your body what it truly needs. If you only eat fast food, your body will end up like a car without maintenance. It won't start even with a push. Now, about exercise. It's easy to say, I'll sign up for the gym, but then the couch seems much more inviting. Moderate exercise doesn't mean you need to prepare for a marathon. A daily walk or a few yoga sessions can work wonders. Imagine that physical exercise is like the oil in a machine. Without it, everything starts to creak and malfunction. You don't need to be an Olympic athlete, just someone who moves a little more. A little sweat each day keeps stress and anxiety at bay. And sleep? That great forgotten element of modern life. Getting the recommended 7 or 8 hours of sleep is like giving your body and mind a kind of reboot. If you spend sleepless nights, how do you expect your brain to function properly the next day? It's like trying to charge a cell phone with a broken cable. Sleeping well is essential, and if you don't, it's as if you're setting yourself up for a slow and painful disaster. How does all this apply to living in peace, regardless of the circumstances? The answer is simple: invest in well-being in every sense. It's not about eliminating all problems, but about being better prepared to face them. By following a balanced diet, exercising moderately, and getting enough sleep, you build a solid foundation to weather life's storms. It's like arming yourself with an invisible shield against stress and adversity. You don't need to follow Stoic philosophy to live well, although it doesn't hurt, but rather use common sense. Give your body and mind what they need, and you'll see how life starts treating you a little better. Sometimes, inner peace isn't a utopia but the result of practical, everyday choices. If someone tells you otherwise, it might be because they haven't experienced the magic of a good night's sleep and a balanced diet. As Brian Tracy said, peace is not a destination, but the balance we build each day with conscious choices. Now, simplify your life. Have you ever stopped to think about how you complicate things in your daily life? I'm talking about those piles of papers, the social commitments you don't even remember accepting, and a routine that feels more like an obstacle course than a leisurely walk. Wouldn't it be wonderful to simplify everything and dedicate more time to what really matters? Stoic philosophy can help you achieve this simplification and, consequently, live in peace, regardless of the circumstances. Let's clarify something. Simplifying life doesn't mean abandoning responsibilities or living isolated in a cave. Simplifying is doing a favor to your mind, which is already quite tired. Imagine your life as a messy closet, full of clothes you never wear, items you don't even remember, and heaps of worthless papers. Wouldn't it be a relief to organize all of that? Stoic philosophy, often seen as the discourse of ancient monks, actually offers a surprisingly practical touch. We should focus our energy only on what we can control. So if you're looking to simplify your life, start by asking, where can I make changes to make my daily life more manageable and less stressful? First, take an inventory of what truly serves you. Think about those social events you attend out of inertia or those extra projects at work that don't bring you satisfaction. It's like realizing that those horrible shoes are just taking up space. Sometimes, a drastic cleanup is necessary. Second, set clear boundaries. If you're always available to everyone, you'll end up exhausted and resentful. Learn to say no. Yes, that little word that seems so hard to pronounce. Your time is valuable. Use it wisely. Organize your life like a treasure map. Identify your priorities and align your daily actions with them. If your greatest joy is spending time with family or enjoying a free afternoon, adjust your schedule to prioritize those moments. Simplifying life isn't impossible nor an act of resignation. It's a conscious choice to devote yourself to what truly brings you happiness and satisfaction. Applying Stoic principles helps you focus on what can be controlled and frees you from what isn't worth it. Imagine living with less stress and more inner peace. Sounds good, doesn't it? So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember that simplifying is a way to give yourself a breather. Leave behind what is unnecessary and focus on the essential. After all, living in peace under any circumstance begins with living in a simpler and more authentic way. As Oscar Wilde said, simplicity is the ultimate refinement of the art of living. And what about expecting something in return? Have you ever done something for someone with the best intentions and found yourself waiting to receive something back, like a child in front of a Christmas tree? If you've ever thought that the universe owes you a reward, welcome to the club. But before you drown in a sea of complaints, let me offer you a reflection with a touch of humor. Imagine you buy a gift for a friend, spend time choosing the best one, wrap it with care, and deliver it with a smile. Now, if the next day your friend doesn't give you a sports car as a thank you, would you feel cheated? If your answer is yes, you're probably confusing human relationships with commercial transactions. Life, especially in interpersonal relationships, doesn't work like the stock market. You can't trade favors as if they were stocks. Acting with the expectation of receiving something in return is like confusing generosity with investment, which would be a profound mistake. Deep down, what you seek by acting this way is not generosity, but a trade, and let's be honest, the Stoics are not known for investing in feelings. When we act from the heart, without expecting a reward, we untie the knot of anxiety that binds us. If every action is performed with the expectation of a reward, inner peace becomes as fragile as a sandcastle. The Stoics teach us that true tranquility comes from the ability to act according to our values, without being enslaved by the results. Of course, adopting this attitude requires practice. Imagine that when you do something for someone, you don't expect a thank you or a I owe you one, but focus solely on the act of giving. It's like gaining a new hobby, altruism. At first, it may seem like you're casting a bait into the ocean, waiting for it to return something in exchange, but eventually, you'll realize that the true reward is the satisfaction of having acted with integrity. If someone doesn't respond as you hoped, remember that it doesn't diminish the value of your actions. True success lies in acting with genuine purpose, without expecting anything in return. It's like exercising, you do it for your health, not expecting a prize. So the next time you find yourself at the crossroads between generosity and expectation, remember, inner peace lies in the act of giving, not in the hope of receiving. If the universe rewards you, great, but if not, you will still have the certainty of having acted as your best self. As Gandhi said, true peace is not in what you receive, but in what you give, expecting nothing in return. 7. Live fully in the present. Have you ever felt trapped between a past you cannot change and an uncertain future? Instead of living, it feels like we're in limbo, waiting for the clock to give us permission to breathe in peace. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. We spend the day struggling between yesterday, which has already passed, and tomorrow, which has yet to arrive. But there's a simple solution: live in the present, that magical moment the Buddhists often mention. Yes, it may sound like a self-help cliché, but it makes sense. Imagine that the past is like an old friend who insists on reliving stories that no longer interest you, while the future is like a spoiled child who promises great things but rarely delivers. And while you cling to both, you forget the most important thing, the now. This present moment is the only one truly in your hands, but it slips away when you worry about the past or the future. Stoic philosophy teaches us to accept what we cannot change and focus on what is under our control. Marcus Aurelius said that the secret to happiness lies in not having expectations of the future and accepting the present with serenity. Applying this wisdom can start with something simple, like practicing mindfulness. You don't need to become a Buddhist monk, just pay attention to what you are doing in the moment. For example, while washing the dishes, focus on the act of washing, on the touch of the water and soap. You'll be surprised by the peace you can find in routine activities. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the past or the future, but rather giving the current moment the value it deserves. I'm not suggesting you abandon your responsibilities or goals, but that you don't get lost in the anxiety of the future or the regrets of the past. When you feel trapped in thoughts, remember that the present is the only time that truly exists. True peace lies in living it fully. 8. Don't cling. It's better to let go. Have you ever tried swimming against the current? It's an exhausting and, most of the time, futile experience. Imagine yourself in a raging river, trying to move forward while the water pulls you in the opposite direction. That's what happens when we cling to thoughts and feelings that keep us anchored to the past. Stoic philosophy, often seen as something you would only find in self-help books, has a clear view on this subject. To live in peace, we must learn to detach from what we cannot control. Learning to let go is essential for living in peace. The Stoics were not proponents of emotional dramas. They believed that true freedom lies in the ability to release what we cannot control. If you feel trapped in an endless cycle of emotions and memories that drain your energy, it may be time to acknowledge that you are swimming against the current. The first step to letting go is to identify what is holding you back. If there's a thought that haunts you at night or a feeling that churns your stomach, why cling to it? It's like carrying a stone in your pocket just because someone gave it to you years ago. It may not be easy to get rid of it, but at least try to set it aside from time to time. Imagine you're driving down a road and suddenly someone throws a stone at your car. You can choose to let that stone ruin your trip or simply move on. Of course, the human tendency is to want to throw the stone back, but by doing that, you only complicate your journey and hurt yourself in the process. In the end, the only person harmed will be you. To detach from toxic feelings and thoughts, it's essential to apply a basic strategy: acceptance. Accepting that you cannot change the past or control the future is like understanding that you cannot stop the rain with your hands. Trying will only get you wet and irritated. Instead, accept things as they are and focus on what you can control: your reactions and the present. 9. Another effective technique is self-care. Make a list of activities that make you feel good and dedicate time to them. Whether it's reading a good book, going for a walk, or simply savoring a cup of coffee without rush. By focusing on what brings you happiness, you reduce the mental space occupied by negative memories and feelings. Finally, letting go doesn't mean ignoring your emotions, but rather organizing them as if you were tidying up a messy closet. Allow yourself to feel, process, and then release those emotions. This way, you open up mental and emotional space for more constructive things. The next time you find yourself struggling against the current of your thoughts and feelings, remember that clinging only exhausts you. True peace comes from learning to let go and letting things flow. Live in peace with what you have and let what you cannot change flow like the water of a river. As Nelson Mandela said, clinging to the past is like trying to stop the tide. You'll only end up drowning if you don't learn to let go. 10. Dedicate a few minutes a day to meditation. We live in a world where stress and chaos seem to be constant companions. Sometimes, it feels as if we are caught in the midst of a storm of confusion and endless noise. However, the ancient Stoics discovered something that can help you. Dedicating a few daily minutes to meditation or relaxation can be the key to achieving a state of calm, even amidst the chaos. I know what you might be thinking: meditation? Isn't that for monks or people living in caves? Well, maybe, but it's also for ordinary people like you and me who wish to find peace amid the hustle of life. Meditation is not a ticket to isolate yourself from the world. It's a tool to silence the mental noise and reclaim your inner calm. Imagine your mind as a radio station, constantly switching between static and music. What meditation does is press the mute button for a few minutes. It's not about completely eliminating the noise, but learning to live with it without letting it disturb you. Taking a few minutes to meditate is like pausing in an obstacle race. It's that moment that allows you to organize your thoughts and let your worries dissolve. How do you start? It's simple. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and close your eyes. Allow your mind to break free from the concerns that are merely background noise. Or if you prefer, listen to relaxing music, which can serve as a gentle guide to serenity. Think of relaxing music as a hug for your mind, reminding it that it's okay to let go of the day's tensions and focus on the present. Living in peace, no matter what happens around you, may sound utopian, but the Stoics proved that it's possible. They believed that we cannot control external events, but we can control how we react to them. If you dedicate a few minutes each day to cultivating your inner calm, you will realize that these events have much less power over you than you imagined. It may seem overly simple, but this is one of the deepest reflections you will hear today. Inner peace is not a destination. It's a journey that begins with each breath. 11. Constructive criticism. Have you ever stopped to think about the time you waste criticizing, comparing, and jumping to conclusions? It's like that moment when you decide to fix the world from your couch, only to realize that your greatest achievement was eating a pack of cookies while complaining. Yes, destructive criticism may seem harmless, but it's actually a fast track to dissatisfaction and a lack of inner peace. So how can we find serenity amid this mental chaos we create ourselves? The answer is simple: stop judging. Imagine you're on a battlefield. To your left, there's an arrow labeled destructive criticism, and to your right, a spear called self-acceptance. The former is sharp and painful, while the latter is like a warm hug of understanding. Which would you choose? Your instinct might lead you to pick the arrow, as criticizing yourself and others is easy, but this route will only lead you to a perpetual state of dissatisfaction. It's like trying to fill a bottomless bucket. No matter how hard you try, you will never be satisfied. The Stoic philosophy, which often seems more practical than a self-help manual, offers excellent advice. The Stoics believed in focusing on what can be controlled and accepting what cannot be changed. Instead of wasting your energy criticizing what you cannot control, why not focus on what you can improve? For example, rather than complaining about how others live their lives, how about focusing on becoming the best version of yourself? Imagine that instead of spending your time criticizing, you dedicated that time to learning something new or honing your skills. The result would be much more satisfying and surprisingly would bring you genuine inner peace. Moreover, by stopping criticism and comparison, you open the door to greater flexibility and tolerance. Destructive criticism seems to have become a national sport, but in this game, everyone loses. If you focus on being less critical and more understanding, you will discover that the world is not as chaotic as it seemed. It's like putting together a puzzle without looking at the picture on the box. At first, it looks like a disaster, but with patience and tolerance, the pieces begin to fit together. Inner peace does not lie in constant judgment or absurd comparisons. If you truly want to live in peace, start letting go of the habit of criticism. Learn to be more flexible, accepting, and tolerant, both with yourself and with others. Serenity will arrive when you stop trying to be the judge of everything and everyone, and start focusing on what truly matters, your own well-being. As Marcus Aurelius said in his Meditations, inner peace is found when we stop fighting against the world and start reconciling with ourselves. 12. Address your fundamental needs. Living in peace sounds as simple as making a wish and hoping it comes true, right? But let's be realistic. Inner peace isn't hidden in a corner of your mind, waiting to be discovered. It's like it's playing hide and seek. Unless you take care of your basic needs, you will never find it. The truth is, if you want to savor that almost unattainable tranquility, you first need to ensure that your life is in order. And I'm not talking about organizing your coffee mug collection. I'm referring to fundamental needs, such as a home, food, and healthy relationships. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you're building a house. For that house to be livable, you need a solid foundation. These foundations aren't made of grand ideas about meditating on top of the Himalayas, but of basic things like bricks and cement. Similarly, your inner peace needs a solid foundation, and that foundation is your fundamental needs. First, the home. And I'm not talking about that perfect corner you see on Instagram, but a place where you feel safe, a refuge that allows you to disconnect from the chaos of the outside world. If you don't have a space that offers you at least a minimal sense of stability, how do you expect to find that peace everyone seems to have but you can't see anywhere? Next comes food. Here, I'm not talking about cravings for fast food, but the basic nutrition your body needs to function. Without proper nutrition, body and mind will be in constant struggle, and that struggle surely doesn't lead to serenity. Lastly, relationships. If you surround yourself with toxic people, your inner peace is like a plant caught in a storm. It will never be able to grow. You need relationships that nourish you, support you, and provide a safety net of emotional security. Without these connections, even Stoic philosophy can seem useless in the face of the emotions you might be experiencing. So how do you address these needs to finally find the long-sought inner peace? First, identify which of these areas is in crisis. If you don't have a stable home, look for solutions, even if it means adjusting your expectations. Maybe you can't have a luxury house, but you can find a decent place where you feel safe. As for food, research nutrition and adjust your diet to meet your basic needs. You don't need a gourmet diet, but rather food that keeps your body and mind in good shape. And regarding relationships, take inventory of the people in your life. Who supports you, and who drags you down? Sometimes, inner peace lies in disconnecting from connections that only bring drama and surrounding yourself with those who truly enrich you. In the end, the quest for inner peace isn't a magical task or a final destination. It is built from caring for what truly matters, your fundamental needs. It's a series of practical steps to ensure that your fundamental needs are met. Without these foundations, inner peace is just an illusion, a chimera that seems to mock you while you deal with reality. If you truly want to achieve that promised peace, start by building a solid foundation, a home, food, and relationships that support you. Only when these needs are in order can you begin to explore that state of tranquility that seems so elusive. As a wise Stoic once said, find stability in the essential, and peace will be a permanent guest in your life. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, accept your imperfections. Have you ever tried to be perfect? Without a doubt, at some point in your life, you've strived to reach that unattainable idea, trying to fit into molds you could never have imagined. Suddenly, you find yourself struggling to meet expectations that seem to have been created by extraterrestrials with a questionable sense of humor. I'll tell you something, perfection is a myth. It's an illusion sold as if it were the holy grail of existence. Perfection, my dear friend, is like a shiny unicorn. Everyone talks about it, but no one has ever seen it in real life. Do you believe you could achieve that sublime level of existence if only you could fix your hair, your love life, or your cooking skills? The truth is that even the most famous influencers don't have perfectly edited lives. Everything is a well-rehearsed spectacle. So why torment yourself trying to achieve something that doesn't even exist? Think about Stoic philosophy for a moment. Stoics teach that suffering comes from fighting against what we cannot change. Why torture yourself trying to be perfect in a world that doesn't have a single standard of perfection? Instead, why not embrace your imperfections and see them as part of your uniqueness? Now, before you sink into self-pity, here's a practical perspective. Think of yourself as a constantly evolving work of art. Imagine yourself as a canvas, on which you paint with colors that sometimes spill over the edges. Sometimes, those mistakes become the most interesting details. If you focus solely on painting within perfect limits, you'll miss the beautiful chaos that makes your life unique. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be you. And being you means accepting that sometimes you will make mistakes, feel awkward, or wonder if you really know what you're doing. But at the end of the day, isn't that what makes life exciting? So, what to do with all this? First, start accepting your imperfections as part of your identity. Instead of fighting against them, embrace each little flaw and learn to laugh at yourself. Second, focus on enjoying the journey instead of fixating on the final destination of being perfect. Value the little moments and joys that build your life. Remember, living in peace doesn't mean not having problems, but knowing how to handle your expectations. If you cling to the idea of perfection, you'll lose the true fun of life. Accept that you don't fit into every mold and instead, create your own. Stop seeking perfection. Neither you nor I, nor anyone on this planet will achieve that elusive state. If you learn to have fun with your imperfections and live joyfully, you will discover that life is much more enjoyable and rewarding. As Einstein said, perfection is the prison of the mediocre, imperfection is the freedom of the great. So go ahead, live imperfectly, and celebrate every little chaos in your life. After all, it is yours. I sincerely hope this message has been helpful. I want to congratulate you for making it this far and completing the video. This means you want to improve as a person. If you liked the video, leave your comment. If you don't know what to comment, write gratitude, so I'll know you watched until the end. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now and join us. Stoicism is full of teachings like this, applicable to our daily lives. I encourage you to keep learning about this philosophy. Here are 2 videos full of Stoic wisdom for you to continue learning. Until next time.